is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering One Piece, episodes 94 and 95. In these episodes, we find out that the mysterious stranger is indeed related to Luffy. It's his brother, whom Luffy never talks about or cares about, it seems like to me. But maybe I just need to get used to how Luffy operates. Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha. Thank you very much to Bernadette for commissioning this episode. So, I'm going to address that right off the bat. Just have to mention it. And I'm not going to hold this show particularly responsible because this is going to be something that I expect to happen frequently. A character will be introduced that is going to have some sort of association with somebody that we already have gotten to know and love. And we will have heard nothing about them. And this person will have been someone very important to the character that we like. I anticipate this to just be a thing because this series goes on a long time. And to a degree, you can't predict where you're going to have the story go. And also, like I said, we don't know anything about Luffy's past. And I'm not really sure when Oda wrote this how much he had already decided about where Luffy came from or who his family was. So, writers come at things from very different places. Some people try to have everything completely mapped out before they even begin to write a plot. They want all of their, family trees and shit. And then there are people who just start something and they see where it goes. And I'm sure that there's a happy medium in there somewhere, but I am curious to know if any of you have information about that, re how much he had decided already by the time we started this. And like I said, Luffy, it's I was being glib saying, oh, obviously he doesn't care about his brother. It's more like I feel like this actually sort of suits Luffy's character in a way. I've said before how he just feels like somebody with severe ADD and that anything that is not directly in front of his face just does not exist for him. And that's kind of what I guess is going on, right? Like his brother's right there and he's happy his brother's here. He's like, hey, what's up, man? And it's not like they have an antagonistic relationship. But when his brother isn't there, he's just not relevant in any way. And there was no time where it felt like Luffy brought any of this stuff up. What I find sort of remind me, everyone, when we see where Zoro comes from, is he telling somebody this story? And I want to know. What I'm getting at is how much of the various characters' backstories does the audience only know versus how much do the characters know about each other? Does that make sense? So we already know everybody is aware of what happened with Nami because they all got very involved in that. But I can't remember if Zoro was telling that story to somebody. I don't think he was. It feels like we were just in his head seeing memories. And, with Sanji, do any of them know about the fact that he was on an island, shipwrecked and almost starved to death? Because I don't know how much it would actually change anything. I feel like the characters would treat them the same way. But it is interesting to think about how some of them, they know everything about. Nami and Chopper, and now Vivi. Vivi, not really quite as much in terms of personal stuff, but they know about her overall situation. So, yeah, do wonder if there's like been any points at which characters have sat down with each other and just told one another where they're from. Because the show wants to show us. So that's why we land on like Nami's island, tracking her down, finding out what's going on with her. But we don't really have scenes of characters just sitting around a fire telling one another about themselves. That doesn't really happen. And I guess I'd kind of like to see that happen. I'd like to see everybody bond a little bit more in a way that is like more meaningful. We see them bond in a playful way with, you know, just joking around and horseplay and drinking and, you know, whatnot on the ship. But I would like to feel a bit more of a connection to everybody now that it feels like we've got a pretty solid crew. I mean, I know Luffy says that he still wants to get a musician, but setting that aside, it feels like we've got most of the people that we're going to be operating with from here on. I may be wrong about that, but, you know, who knows? So I feel like the time has come where I don't need them to all be super friends. I'm fine, for example, with Zoro continuing to side-eye Sanji and be really fucking annoyed with him, because that's what Sanji deserves. That's fine. But I would like for everybody to have a bit more information about one another and to be more aware of each other's backgrounds and what they've been through and what might be kind of like a sore spot for them, you know? And I guess because we don't know that much about some of these characters and where they're from, maybe that's being saved for later. And we are going to get that. Because like I said, we don't know where Zoro was before he just showed up at that dojo and was like, I'm going to throw down with whoever. So maybe we'll find that out later. But this finding out that Luffy has a brother. The brother is also a pirate. This doesn't get mentioned. Like, you would really think, this is the one thing for me, having a brother that has also decided that he's going to go out and try and find the One Piece, I feel like that would have come up in conversation, at least at some point. I mean, come on, you know? But it's fine. And his brother is named Ace Firefist. First of all, why doesn't Luffy have an awesome name? We need something like this for him. We need to come up with something. It's not going to be as easy because like Fire Fist is kind of just right there and it's rad and it just feels badass and there's really nothing more you need to do with it. Luffy's stretch neck. Like, it doesn't hit the same, but we could workshop it. We could figure something out. It's fine. And secondly, I just really enjoy the fact that his name is Ace. Have you guys ever known anybody named Ace? I had a close friend in, you guys, some of you know, I went to an arts boarding school for my senior year of high school. And you had art, like different majors that you focused in at that boarding school. And my major was technical theater. And there were only like 3 people in that department. And one of them, who was in my grade, was named Andrew. And his middle name was Carter. And his last name started with an E. So he just went by Ace, his initials. And this is one of those few times where you decide on a nickname for yourself and it actually works out. Usually people are given a nickname and that's just something that they don't really get a say in. I was always a little bit jealous of him for that. I would love like a nickname and I have never been able to. The closest thing is people calling me Nat, which I swear to God I hate so much. So didn't work out. But Luffy's brother, as his friends all comment on once they're all together, which I'm jumping ahead here a little bit, but I think that we're all fine with that. They all comment on basically how totally different he is from Luffy. Luffy is extremely unreliable. He doesn't really think about other people. He is extremely self-absorbed and just impulsive, does whatever he wants to do in that moment with no consideration for consequences or, you know, like we've seen him eat all the food on the ship, even though there are other people here and there's not a grocery store coming up in half an hour. Meanwhile, his brother is like, just saying like, hey, it's really nice to meet you guys. I'm excited that you are taking care of my brother. I know he's a handful. Sanji offers to make tea and he's like, no, I don't want to be any trouble. And everybody's like, who is this guy? How are they fucking related? And this is always a wild thing for me because, you know, it's from family to family. It's never the same. You'll come across some siblings that seem so alike that you're like, are you even different people really? Or what's going on here? And then you'll meet people that are so unalike, even in appearance, that you can't believe they would be related, you know? And considering, like, if they look similar enough that I think I guessed they might be related. I don't think... Did I say brother? When I was, like, throwing out guesses as to who this guy would be, I feel like I said cousin or something. So, yeah, they look close enough in terms of just being very lanky and that dark hair. And he has his own hat. It's not the straw hat, but it gives a similar effect. I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to say he's an imposter or anything like that. But, yeah, his entire vibe, I am, like, simultaneously, I would like Luffy to be slightly... Oh, I would like him to notice the fact that people are responding well to this dude and want to emulate that a little bit more. At the same time, half of the plot of this show is driven by Luffy doing absurd shit. So if we have Luffy calm down and behave himself, what happens to everything? You know, like, I mean, I'm not saying it couldn't work, but it would be a very different vibe. Florian says, Oda planned out a lot, he says, but when he has a fun idea, he will change course. Gotcha. Hi, Gabriella. Bernadette says, how about Natasha Karwasha for a nickname? Oh my God, you guys. What was that from, Bernadette? Was that from Harry Potter? I was trying to come up with a nickname and I could not it was very bad. I was trying to do something like a rhyming thing. Recently, Rashawn and I were talking about what our, like, mob names would be, because you know how to be like Jimmy Two-Face Capone, that kind of thing. And I was like Natasha the Chins, because I have multiple chins. I feel like that could work. But anyway, I don't want that nickname, so don't do that, guys. Let's back up here a little bit. I want to mention too, right out of the gate here, that I have no theories as to whether or not this big brother is going to be around very much. He could just vanish in the next, 5 episodes and we'll not see him again for like 50 episodes. Or maybe almost ever. Or he could be in and out of the story like all the time from now on. I really don't know. It just sort of depends on like what Oda's mood was, evidently, based on what Florian is saying. Gabriella says, doesn't Luffy having a big brother make so much sense? Little brother vibes. Yeah, he does have little brother vibes, but like in a way that like a 6-year-old, like they all feel they feel a lot younger than they're meant to be. This brother too, by the way. So we're going to do the usual bit, what do you call it? Fashion corner. This guy somebody is trying to sell him a golden apple that he found in some ancient ruins, allegedly. 1 bite and it will let you live 1,000 years. And here we get some pretty like important character information about Chopper, because we have seen that Usopp falls for this shit. He's a complete mark. I was a little surprised that Chopper also falls for it. However, I'm kind of liking the fact that now Usopp has somebody else to commiserate with on the bullshit. So the first person, though, that this man is trying to sell to is Luffy's brother. And I'm going to talk about the view from behind first, because we don't see him from the front for a little bit here. He has a few tattoos. He's got one across his back that is like a cross with a skull in the middle that has like a crescent moon across. It's almost like a, what's the word I want? Almost like a mustache, I guess, the way that it's angled. And he has a weird backpack that almost looks like a barrel, but it's like green. I'm doing a bad job on this one, guys, because his stuff is really, the overall impression that you get from this guy and his like look, to me, it was giving college age backpacker in Guatemala. That was what I was getting from it. He just looks like somebody that I did an abroad program with personally. Gabriella says, Ace is hot. That's it. That's all my simping for today. I can see why you would go for him. He is super not my type, mostly because of the fact that he looks like a college age backpacker. I am just super not into it, y'all. Like, those dudes tended towards being very performatively woke and spiritual, but in a way that was very clearly trying to get in your pants. And there's just a whole energy that comes off a lot of guys like that I find repellent. And unfortunately for Ace, I'm assigning that to him, and that's not fair. But that's what happens when somebody just gives you a really strong, you know, if there was like a female character who showed up and looked exactly like Snooki, it would be just very difficult for me to not react to her as if she were Snooki. And so this dude, and he even has a tattoo down his arm that says Ace, but there's an S in it. ASCE. He's got, and the weird backpack, it's like almost an animal print. He's got a hat with a band around it that has like red beads that match the necklace that he is wearing. Elbow pads, orange to match the hat that he is wearing. A pair of like weird, what feel like moon boots. I don't really know a better way to describe this. There are two skulls, and I've talked about this before, two like a happy face and a sad face on his hat. And then he has that like horned skull around his neck, but it's the horned skull, I think, is actually hanging from the string of his hat, not from the necklace. And the elbow pad, I'm realizing, that looks like it's only on one side, one elbow. What is that about? Why is it only on one side? I should also mention that he has freckles, which I feel like you just don't see freckles on male characters very often. It's always treated as like a kind of cutesy thing that you do to make somebody either look younger or oftentimes look like less appealing. It used to be very much shorthand for like she's ugly, which definitely didn't give me a complex at all as a kid. But yeah, so he just has a really bizarre sort of vibe, and he has a shirt off all the time. He's walking around in just his shorts and boots all the time. And the shorts, I should mention what those look like. They kind of look almost like cargo shorts, but the pocket is separate from the shorts, and it is like woven through like a second belt on one thigh with a little blue like bag attached to it as the pocket. And he has another belt that has a knife at his actual waist. So he's walking around armed and flaunting the tattoo that tells everybody he is with the Whitebeard pirates. So yeah, the shorthand for this guy is that he is not afraid to make an impression or draw attention to himself. And the whole swagger that he has made me suspect that he probably had eaten a devil fruit, because it just seems like if you eat a devil fruit, you are required to dress weirdly. It just seems like that just has to happen. Luffy is like the only exception. Luffy's dressed in the most ordinary way out of everyone. But otherwise, it just doesn't like... And you know what, guys? I'm not really like mad at that. If you ate a devil fruit and you got a wild power from it, I can't see that not becoming your entire identity. That's just a huge thing to have happen to you, you know? And now your life is just... it's changed forever. And yeah, I feel like you would want a costume to go along with that. And the only thing about Ace that is sort of bizarre to me is that there's nothing about his costume that says anything about the kind of power he has, other than the fact that he's like using fire, which is hot, and he's not wearing a shirt because he's hot. Is it because he doesn't want it to get caught on fire because he uses fire so much? Is it because, like, I don't know. But there have been, you know, a few other characters where it feels like things sort of go together. Sort of. I'm really putting an asterisk after that. Y'all know there have been times where I'm like, I don't even get why they did this. But yeah, let's see. Oh God. The S is crossed out. When he got the tattoo, the guy who made it thought it was spelled to be ass. Oh God. Gabriella says, the freckles look so damn adorable on him and I love him. I love them. Yes, I lied. Lots more simping coming. But yeah, so Gabriella says it's because he's hot. That's it, with the shirtless thing. Maybe that's it. I don't know. And it, like, I'm not mad at it mainly because of the fact that, like, I'm so used to it always being women put in incredibly skimpy outfits that it's just refreshing for there to be a male eye candy kind of character, you know? I don't know how long he's going to be around, but considering the fact that the last couple episodes have had both Vivi and Nami wandering around in belly dancer outfits with, like, basically nothing but bras, I think that we are owed some like reciprocity on that. So yeah, it's, I mean, we have had Zoro, but Zoro's mostly clothed. It's a shame. None of us is happy about it, but it is what it is. So let's go to what actually happens this episode. This man tries to sell his ridiculous apple to Ace. Ace is just like, yeah, I don't fucking think so. He says something like, and this just helped cement the whole college age backpacker thing. But he says something like, I don't need to worry about living for 1,000 years. I'm just worried about living today and focusing on that. And I was like, ugh, go do some yoga. Shut up. Y'all, I have a lot of baggage around this kind of thing. This is why I have, like, I want to take certain, like, practices more seriously because I bet they are beneficial. But so many of them regarding different types of meditation and yoga, I have deep associations to dudes like that, and it has sort of like soured me on them forever, and it's really a shame. But anyway, so this dude walks away from it, And shortly after that, we get both Usopp and Chopper coming up, and they are about to completely fall for this bullshit. And Nami has to step in and be like, what are you fucking doing? Are you kidding me? And Zoro backs her up and pulls aside a curtain that shows a dude just painting apples with gold paint, which I just love the idea that there are people taking bites out of painted apples. Like, but yeah, I was really grateful because we have seen Usopp waste a lot of money. I have been concerned about it at times, and I'm glad that there was somebody there to just be like, you fucking morons. So she literally drags the two of them off. And as this is all happening, Ace is wandering around with the poster of Luffy, and they notice him looking for Luffy, and they're kind of like, what's the deal here? Of course, Nami thinks, well, probably he's just a bounty hunter. But Zoro is like, no, the mark on his back, he basically says, I think here he says that if the guy were a bounty hunter, I would recognize the mark. I can't remember who it is that recognizes the mark later. I feel like it was just maybe Captain Smoker. Maybe he was the only one. But they're puzzling over this and a little concerned about it. And this is when Zoro turns and sees Dashigi, is that her name? The swordsman girl, swords person. I had forgotten what a pain in the ass she is. I am absolutely here for it. Don't get me wrong. She's such a nerd. Like, just a nerd in all of these different ways. One, the way that she has just committed herself to sword fighting. Anybody who gets that, like, obsessive about one particular thing, I am comfortable calling you a nerd. I just think that's part of what nerd means, is that you just get so very in depth, you know, on one thing. So yeah, Zoro's a nerd too, I'm saying. Dork, that's a different thing. However, she is also a dork. Massive dork. First of all, I mean, it's her outfit, because she's just wearing something that's so sort of ordinary. She's got, for those who don't know, she's got like a pair of like white capri pants and like a grape colored t-shirt and very plain slip-on shoes that look like just plain flats. And in this universe, if somebody is dressed like that, it feels to me like shorthand for they have no style. There's nothing interesting about the way that they present themselves. Plus the way that her hair like is just extremely simple. But then on top of that, we have how concerned she is about the rules, how personally she took it that Zoro was a pirate, and the way that she's spotted here because she's yelling at a shopkeeper who has this little stall where he's selling swords at an like a completely inflated price. And she is asking the guy if he has a permit, which I am just in love with the fact that she is asking this. I should mention that when Zoro is like watching this, there's a flashback, and she was wearing something a little bit more interesting in the flashback. I had forgotten about this. It was like a collared flowered shirt and then what looks to be sort of denim jacket with like Sherpa on the collar. But yeah, this whole thing with her talking to this guy basically about zoning issues and really getting in his face. And then later on, she is a huge kiss ass to Captain Smoker, which I don't remember if that was a thing when we met her before, or if we just didn't really get to see her around him or how that went. I don't remember that about her, but the couple of times that we see her this episode and the next episode, it's like embarrassing. Girl, calm down. There's no need for that. There is nothing like watching somebody suck up to another person when they are not good at it. You know, there are ways to suck up. What I always recommend is before you decide you're going to suck up to a person, hang back and see what it looks like they respond to. Some people respond well to flattery. Other people, if you try and compliment them, they're going to see what you're doing immediately and not take you seriously. Or they will assume any compliment is a suck up, even though that wasn't what you intended at all. You gotta figure out the way to approach it according to each individual. And with Captain Smoker, it just feels like she doesn't get the way to suck up to him. He is obviously a very duty-bound, focused guy. And I don't feel like sucking up to him in general is really going to work. The best thing to do is your job. Make it so that you don't have to be checked up on. You know, make it so that he doesn't need to tell you what to do. And I bet that is going to gain you more respect from him than anything. Actually, that kind of reminds me of myself. I'm always just, anytime that people are competent, I'm like, oh, I really like you. Can I keep you in my life? But yeah, this girl, she is really hilariously, to me, still seems to sort of haunt Zoro's thoughts a little bit. And it was presented the first time he met her as though she reminded him of his childhood friend who died. But it seems like that has pretty much fallen by the wayside. And all he remembers is that she's a pain in the ass who was after him personally because of the fact that he was a pirate and scum and whatever. And I don't know why I enjoy the fact that Zoro is essentially afraid of a girl who is such a nerdy, dorky type, but he jumps behind things and hides from her. And I deeply enjoy that. It's just fun to see him out of his element isn't the right word. He's just acting so out of character, you know? And there are times where doing that is just the most perfect comic relief. So anyway, he spots her and is just like, oh no, she's here, which then makes them go, oh, I'm guessing that Captain Smoker is here. And indeed, he has picked up a couple of dudes that are draped over his shoulders. Small fry pirates. They thought they could act like big shots around me, so I took care of them. And this is clearly where he is getting, or where Dashiki is getting her anti-pirate rhetoric, because he is just super anti-pirate, and later on specifically says something to her about how the one thing that you always have to keep in mind is that pirates never change, which I have to assume that exact line is going to wind up being a bit of a thing later. I am really still kind of rooting for her to be a part of things, because I just really like the idea of there being another, a female character who is excellent in combat. We don't have that. Vivi seems decent. You know, she was working with Baroque work, so she had to be able to hold her own to a point. But really, she got defeated pretty quickly when we had that showdown at the island where all of them were based. Now, you know, that could be that she was just aware that these guys were not actual enemies and she was holding back, but I tend to think that she's not really a fighter. I mean, Nami is certainly not a fighter. She does her best, but her whole thing is really outwitting people. You know, she's like one of the Fae. You have to be really careful the way that you handle her, because she will hold you to the letter of your word, and she will say what she means and intend to carry that out, even if you think it's a joke. So both of them, that's not really their function. And I wouldn't be mad at another woman joining our team who can kick some ass. I can understand not wanting to add another specifically like sword fighter, because maybe that starts to feel a little bit redundant. But considering the difference in the way that they would each fight, because Zoro does the 3 sword technique, I don't even think that would be as much of a concern. Anyway, this is all to say, like, I have a soft spot for uptight characters who are like, you know, just very respectful of authority. It's just, it touches something in me that I often don't come across as that person, and people think of me as somebody who flouts authority, and I am so not like that, really, you know, not really. So when I see somebody else who's out here being like, you don't even have a permit for that. Guys, you don't even understand. When there's a sign that says keep off the grass and I see people walking on the grass, I want to walk up to them and like yank them off the grass by their hair and just be like, can you read? What is your problem? Like that is strong energy for me. So I'm just really sort of hopeful that this is going to be a thing. But I also am hopeful that like Captain Smoker is going to realize that these dudes aren't worth taking in, and that he will be excited to, like, once he realizes that they are up against the bad guys, because they find out that Luffy is here to fight Crocodile. I'm hoping that maybe he'll be like, oh, wait, you're a pirate, but you are taking out people who are genuinely dangerous and threats to, you know, I don't know. Crocodile, remind me, guys, is he sanctioned? I know Blackbeard that we talk about later is sanctioned, right? I can't remember if Crocodile is. I don't think he is. But yeah, this, and I should mention too how happy I am to see that Captain Smoker is back in general, because there was so much weird potential with his power, and they decide to sort of like talk about how pointless a fight it would be for him to go up against Ace, for Fire and Smoke to fight each other. I am not entirely sure why that is. I guess it's just, if you fight with Fire, you will produce smoke, and he can manipulate smoke. But it isn't even, like, his power isn't exactly that he can manipulate smoke, is it? It's, his power is that he can turn parts of his body into smoke, right? So how is it that people are so quick to say that they won't be able to have any effect against one another? Later on, we see like the two of them, the smoke and the fire like swirling in this huge sort of cyclone, upside down cyclone over the town. And I wasn't really understanding what was supposed to be happening there. Like, I think that Captain Smoker's power is difficult for me to wrap my head around. Fire, we see so many characters in media that use fire as a weapon. It's just everywhere. So that I feel like I can understand how it's meant to work. But the smoke thing, it's like he can turn himself into smoke so that Luffy's fist goes right through him. But then the smoke can be solid enough to like pick people up and punch them in the face. And it seems like it'll all be happening at once. Like he is able to completely keep track of the smoke and make it however, like as solid or as gaseous as he needs it to be in that moment. So it would seem to me like he could use the smoke to just build a wall around himself to keep the fire off of him. I feel like that would be pretty effective. If it weren't for the fact that he could make the smoke as solid as we've seen, I feel like I would think, well, the fire would have the advantage because it could go right through the smoke, but we know that he can make it solid. So I'm a little bit confused, I guess, about why it is that everybody immediately seems to be in agreement that the two of them fighting one another is just destined to go on forever, because I think I don't really understand what is meant to be the advantage to each one that they have over one another. So yeah, if anybody wants to like help me out with that, please feel free, because I don't mind just accepting things to a point, because in this universe you just have to do that sometimes. But I would like to understand, I feel like it's the sort of thing that's repeated enough times that it started to make me feel like, am I just missing something extremely obvious here or what? So as this is all happening, I should mention, we have two different food situations. First, we have Ace, and he has gone into this restaurant. He has fallen asleep at the counter of what essentially seems to be like a diner. And what they say as they see him completely pass out, everybody in this town is worried that he is dead, and they think that he has eaten this like poisonous spider that looks like a strawberry. At least that's what it said in the dub. I'm not sure how that translates. But basically, it kills you after a couple days. And they said something about how it like causes an infection, and it's really contagious. So like if you eat it and you drop dead near people, they can't come anywhere near you, which seems deeply inconvenient. And they're thinking that he ate this thing. And then, of course, he sits straight up, and it turns out that he just fell asleep literally mid-sentence. I know that we have sort of had Zoro pass out in the middle of stuff before. Has Luffy done this? Is this supposed to be like kind of a family thing where each of them just, for reasons unknown, completely checks out mid-conversation? And I thought this was being set up for a storyline where Luffy winds up eating one of these like poisonous berries, and it's going to turn out like, oh, his brother didn't, but he did. Because when we go to Luffy, he's trying to find his way back to the town, and he is so hungry and getting so impatient. And I was like, oh, is he going to stumble across one of these, and just like part of the rest of the next episode is going to be them trying to find a way to cure him of this? The way that the townspeople talk about this like poisonous spider thing is that it's not curable, It seems like you just basically have to wait until you die, and that's how that works. But either that story about this weird spider fruit is not going to materialize into anything that's actually too relevant, or it's just going to be a while before we get there. So Luffy, he is so tired, and then he sees the town and realizes how close he is, and he is able to put on this burst of speed, comes into the restaurant just as Captain Smoker is about to grab up Ace, and he chucks Captain Smoker through like 12 walls in order to get to the counter and sit down and eat some food. And he is so unaware of what he did that he mentions like, what's the deal with all these holes through your walls, without any understanding that he is the one who did this. And of course, in this scene, there is like a chorus of dudes who are all speaking together. First, they're all yelling at Ace for the fact that he fell asleep and how that doesn't make any sense. He was like in the middle of a conversation. Then they're yelling at him when he passes out again. Then they yell at Luffy for the fact that he, sent this guy. It's a fun thing to like have them all completely in unison with one another. And I mean, it's not just them either. All of the townspeople that are in there like scream, "You're asleep? How can that be?" So yeah, he's like, "What's all this commotion?" And they say, "We were worried about you." And he's like, "Does this restaurant do like skits or something? What's going on here?" It was a pretty good bit, to be honest. So yeah, Captain Smoker gets chucked through several walls. Luffy doesn't realize who he is starting shit with yet again. But I will say that Luffy sees Captain Smoker and immediately is like, oh, shit. This dude was not somebody I was able to beat with my powers. So I am going to have to figure out a way around this. Luffy's way around this is to sprint the fuck away. And there is something so basic about that I love so much. He cannot come up with a better plan than to just book it the fuck out of there. And you know what? It do be like that sometimes, though. I'm not mad. You know, I really like that. And especially Luffy. He's not cunning. He's not subtle. That feels right to me. So he just starts sprinting through town and eventually sees his friends and is like, oh, there you are, guys. And they think that he's going to realize that he needs to lose the crowd of people chasing after him before he joins up with them. But he's just heading straight for them, intending to bring the heat to them. And then out of the shadows steps Ace with his fire powers. And he gets between Luffy and Captain Smoker and is like, don't you fuck with my little brother. And we have this like extended sequence of Luffy realizing who Ace is and everybody else being like, wait, who the fuck is this guy? That goes into the next episode. So when we start the next episode, they're still asking him like, wait, that's your brother? And I really wish that we got to see a little bit more of the fight between him and Smoker. It's fine. You know, it probably... Sometimes the fights can go... It's rare for me to say that I wish that I had gotten to see more. But because they're just sort of evenly matched according to the rules of this universe, it seems like it's not super exciting anyway. And eventually he manages to, I can't remember exactly how, because like the fire and the smoke sort of explode outward after they have twisted around one another. So we see this huge cloud that almost looks like there is lightning inside it, but it's not. I mean, it's fire, actually. And Luffy is walking backward, watching this. And he gets separated from his friends because he is not paying attention, because that is just not how he operates. Paying attention is not something he's interested in. So he runs into his brother and tells him, like, hey, I have, like, these people are my crewmates. I don't know where my ship is, though. Meanwhile, everybody else has gotten to the ship, and they're like, this is weird. I feel like we're missing somebody. And they realize Luffy has gone again. And Zoro is ready to kill somebody, which I do not blame him for. And then we get the sequence of Luffy and Ace arm wrestling with each other. And this, I don't know how many of you guys have watched Community, but there is a Community episode surrounding foosball. And there is like an anime foosball fight / match. And this just reminded me of that so very much. I mean, I'm sure it's really the other way around, but I saw that first. So that's how it goes for me. And it kind of winds up being a draw. They wind up like going straight down through the barrel that they're fighting on. So nobody is stronger than the other here. But when Luffy is talking about his brother, he tells his friends that his brother used to kick his ass. And now that Luffy has eaten the gum fruit, he thinks that he would be able to hold his own. But everybody is pretty startled that this man is supposed to be stronger than Luffy, or at least started out that way. So we go from here to a weird bit with this other, like, small time, I think they're billions, right? It's these dudes who are going on to the Marine ship, and there is Mr. 11, I think is the one tied up to the mast there, and he thinks that they have been sent to save him. But these guys are actually intending to kill him so that there will be a spot opened up for them to step into. And this is one of those things where all of them seem to think they can all become Mr. 11. And maybe it's just, okay, we'll join up so that we can take this one guy out, and then we'll fight it out amongst ourselves for whoever gets the spot. But, yeah, he assumes that they're millions. They correct him. And he's like, oh, sorry. But still untie me. And they're like, yeah, we're not doing that. We are definitely going to kill you so we can take your spot. And there's this giant guy with this, like, kind of cross straps of weapons across his chest. Humongous dude. And he is, like, smirking about this more than anybody, and is sort of like the leader of this group. The camera pulls away, and I'm assuming this guy is just killed, but it's just so rare in this show for somebody to outright die that every time it happens, I'm like, did that just really happen? But it seems like it did. It seems like they just shot the guy to death. And they are excited when they leave the ship to find out that Fire Fist Ace is in town, and everybody knows who this is, and they decide that if they take him down, there's going to be no, like, of course they're going to be shoo-ins to become numbered agents. It's never mentioned how all of them are shoo-ins to be numbered agents when they only just killed one dude who's number 11. It's sort of immaterial. But this bit winds up with them getting surrounded in town and these guys starting some shit with them. And he's got these, like, sabers on his back, but he's also got spears, too many weapons. The guy is just so big that he can hold all of it. And he tries to sort of confront them and be threatening. And Luffy and Ace are just like, yeah, we're really not worried about you guys. So we're gonna take off, guys. I really enjoy when they realize that Luffy is worth 30 million berries. Anyway, let's find your ship. Let's go to the shore. Yeah. And they turn around and are like, what the fuck? You just walked away? So we get into a very short fight. Very short. Where this dude comes at them. Luffy uses his, like, what is it? Gum bazooka. Right. Luffy chucks this man like 100 miles away. And all of these guys stop dead, watch this man sail into the sunset, and then they decide to continue fighting him, which I feel like this is one of those things where I'm almost impressed, because, like, that's bravery in a way, but also you're real idiots. You're right to be scared. He just sent a man flying into the next state over. Like, I would not be mad at you if you decided to give this up now. They do not. And they keep pursuing them, and it just keeps being like them being dispatched one by one with very little trouble as Luffy and his crew meet up with one another. And everybody is so frustrated by the time that Luffy gets back that this is when they have this moment of like, oh my God, Ace is so much nicer. He is so much more considerate. He's so much more charming, really, overall. And this is when, like, the Ace winds up joining them. He's not there right away, but this is also when Luffy is telling them how strong his brother is and that he has a devil fruit power also. So yeah, just basically he can take care of himself. I'm not worried about it. And indeed, there doesn't wind up being a reason to be worried other than these fucking pirates do follow them. And we get Ace in this little boat. It's an interesting thing because it's a wooden boat. But despite the fact that he's on fire, it doesn't seem to light up. I mean, maybe it's a metal boat. It's really hard to tell. But he basically like jumps off it and does these like pirouettes and these sort of the kind of like swan dive. I'm trying to think of a word for this, and flies over the ship while on fire and lands back on the boat, his little boat. It is unclear to me what he accomplished in that big showy move. Because after he jumps over the ship and lands on the other side, he does a fire fist and like basically lights up the whole ship. But it feels like he could have just done that from the ship before doing all of these flips and whatnot. So I feel like either I missed something or he's just showing off. And if he is just showing off, like, that's fine. Go for it, man. You know, if I could do flips like that, I fucking would too. So it's fine. And of course, everybody else is hugely impressed because that was an entire ship. And it is now floating in pieces. There is nobody to be seen. It really seems like there wasn't a single survivor there. We cut back to Captain Smoker, and Dashigi is just like, hey man, sorry, but Luffy isn't... It's Tashigi. Sorry, my bad. She is like, we lost him. I don't really know what to do. And Captain Smoker's like, I'm not really sure what to do either, because I definitely saw Vivi, the princess, with them. And she wasn't acting like she was a prisoner. She wasn't a hostage. She seemed to be acting like part of the crew. So what does that mean? How can that be? Something really is happening in this country. And this is when somebody comes up to him. Mr. 11 was done in by someone while he was tied up on the ship. We still haven't located the Straw Hats either. And he says, I have a good idea of where they're headed. He's after Crocodile. Okay, he's one of the 7 warlords and he has been given sanctions. Crocodile has. Okay. I was confused about that one. And yeah, evidently this is something that poor Mr. Smoker, Captain Smoker, doesn't like. The fact that there are pirates who have government approval just rubs him the fucking wrong way. And he feels like these governments are foolish if they think that they can just be like, hey, yeah, we'll let you do stuff, but also you still have to follow our rules, because like they're just not going to do that. Of course they're going to go off and do what the fuck they want. They're on a leash, but the leash is so long it doesn't really matter. And this is when he says, we'll just follow Straw Hat. He'll lead us to Crocodile. And then Straw Hat won't be able to get away either. And I was like, you know, I'm totally... I get using Luffy this way, but I just really want Captain Smoker to, like, cool off on chasing Luffy a little bit. I just, you know... So next scene is them like cheersing that Ace has joined up with them, even though Ace is like, I'm part of a crew already. Like, why do you, I never said that I would join you. And finally Luffy is like, man, come on. Like, seriously, why don't you? And this is when he says, I'm after Blackbeard. he was the one who attacked Drum Kingdom. And he says he was one of my men, but he committed the worst possible sin, killed a crew member, and jumped ship. So as the commander, it's my responsibility to go and get rid of him. And I really he says, I caught word he was seen in Yuba. Blackbeard, I thought that he would be a higher ranked, we've heard of him before, right? And look, I know Blackbeard is an actual, that name would be familiar because it's used, but I feel like in the show we've heard of him, haven't we? I just wouldn't think that Ace would be his superior, I guess. I would have thought that he was in charge of his own shit. So I guess I don't really understand the hierarchy here. But essentially this means that they will all be heading in the same direction. And this means that, of course, Ace is going to be with them for a little while. And I'm totally excited about that. I really want to see what Ace can do. I want to see what he makes of the rest of this group. And overall, I just want to see how him and Luffy continue to play off each other. I'm just really, the dynamic between the two of them is so odd because they are both kind of they both do seem impulsive in a way, but Luffy's impulsive is so different. Kyle says there's also a Whitebeard. You might have gotten them mixed up. No, because Whitebeard is the name of the overall crew, the Whitebeard Pirates, right? I thought we heard about Blackbeard in earlier episodes, but maybe I'm mixed up. Maybe that's not. I don't remember. Maybe it was the drum episode. Did they mention Blackbeard being the one who attacked them when they were on Drum Island? Maybe that's where I'm getting it from. And I guess if he's out here attacking, that I suppose would be why I'd expect him to be the one in charge, but I must be getting that all confused together. Florian says, I have sent you the episode put together. Have you seen? Florian, I don't know what. Oh, wait. Are you talking about the spreadsheet? Yes, I have. Thank you. Screenshotted it, saved it to favorites on my phone so that I can reference it easily. And I thank you very much. Florian made this spreadsheet complete with which are the filler episodes and which ones are wannabe episodes. And it's really helpful. So yeah, thank you very much for that, Florian. Super organized. And I always appreciate that. All right, I have to wrap up, but thank you again, Bernadette, for commissioning this one. I hope that you guys have been enjoying the coverage, and I will be seeing you next week with a new episode. Until then, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.